problem of land acquisition, problem of environment clearance, problem of labor laws.
If it's going to be, the finance ministry that's going to be entirely deciding this budget, then we need to go to them with our demands.
India is a $2 trillion economy. How do they expect to grow it to a $4 trillion or a $8 trillion economy over the next 5 years?
रोटी कैसे बटेगी? कांग्रेस पार्टी की ज्यादा चिंता वहां है, हमारी चिंता साथ में है कि रोटी कैसे बढ़ेगी, क्योंकि रोटी अगर बढ़ेगी तो बांटने के लिए भी कुछ हमारे हाथों में होगा।
मैं लोगों से कहता हूं अच्छे दिन आके चले गए।
I think somewhere we also have to touch on how corruption is built into the system there.
Some of the black money got into the system.
I would like to share with you that this organization CBGA, it's an independent policy research organization based in Delhi, which focuses on government finances. We do a lot of analysis on government finances, and we also advocate for enhancing the scope for people's participation, transparency and accountability in budgetary processes. This specific discussion, this is the 10th edition of this program, and we had started it in 2006, and I'm very glad that many of you have been co-travelers of the journey that we have undertaken since 2005 when CBGA was set up. We are very glad to have with us a set of eminent panelists today, and while I'm introducing the panelists, I would request all of them to please come up to the dais. We have with us Professor D.K. Srivastav, who is presently the Chief Policy Advisor to Ernst & Young. But Professor Srivastav is an eminent economist and an expert on public finance. He was a member of the 12th Finance Commission and is very well known for his work on public finance. Farha Naqvi, she is a well-known writer and activist. She has been working on gender rights and minority rights, both from a justice and development perspective. And formerly she was a member of the National Advisory Council. Manish Tiwari from the Indian National Congress would also be joining us soon. Manish ji is a senior leader of the Congress, and he was the Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting, and has also held senior positions in the All India Congress Committee. Nalin ji from the Bharatiya Janata Party. Nalin ji, I think, has been one of the most sought after spokespersons of BJP. Dr. S.P. Sharma, the Chief Economist with PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And Dr. Sharma is also on the advisory board of a number of think tanks and management institutes across the country. We have Sudha Sundararaman, the Vice President of All India Democratic Women's Association, and also a Central Committee member of the Communist Party of India, Marxist. Sudha ji has been a well-known women's rights activist. Professor Praveen Jha of Jawaharlal Nehru University, who is also associated with CBGA. And I would now request Mr. Amitav Behar, the Executive Director of National Foundation for India, to come up to the dais. Amitav would be moderating the discussion.
The primary idea of this debate is to try and make this debate, democratize the idea of budgets itself. Very often the debates are happening only in the academic circles or around certain specific issues within the media, but the hope of bringing public discussions, people's voices into the entire budget conversations is very, very critical. That's one of the objectives of CBGA. How will we analyze this budget? Are there decisive shifts that we're looking at? Are we looking at some new key ideas coming up? Is it just the old wine in the old bottle, new wine in the old bottle, or we are just discarding certain ideas because they're associated with the previous regime, or there is a decisive shift that we look at. I'm going to start the conversation with requesting all the panelists very brief 2 to 3 minute big picture comments. So I would be very happy if you could just look at what are your disappointments, what's the happiness that you have with this budget, 2 to 3 minutes of quick overview comments on the budget.
One of the primary things was, now we can, given the situation of the fiscal deficit, either contract constantly spending, but in this budget, there's been also an attempt to expand activity. For example, besides of course the middle class 50,000 raise of the standard deduction, 50,000 in terms of the PPF. So PPF means savings, to boost savings, which has been consistently coming down from almost about 36.8% to just under 30%, if I think it's right, or just close to 30.1 or 29.9, something like that. So savings has been coming down, and savings means that's the fund available for government also to utilize. So boost savings, which it finds its way back into economic activity. And the third aspect is the interest component in terms of housing loan. There are other things also related to housing, whether it's rural housing, there's a fund being created for that, expanding the activity in terms of FDI, in terms of housing, changing the norms to make it more realistic so that they could go to the tier B, tier C towns. In terms of REITs, which is a proposal that had come in earlier, but it hadn't taken off because there were some anomalies in that. And certainly it's indicative. Some of them are additional to existing schemes. Some of them are new, like 100 crores. A lot of joke is being cracked. A lot of comments are coming that, 29 into 100 crore schemes, this favorite figure of 100 crores. Well, some of them will get completed in 3 months, 6 months, like the interlinking of river project. And this is not going to be the last of the funds on the project. So I think it was basically a first step document. And what I would say is that it was basically what we were trying to put in place was an agenda for renewal. We have to get back the economy on track. It's a continuation of the old document, etc., etc. There will be a segment that will say that both the Congress and the BJP, they follow a certain model that's not acceptable to us. To look at equity also coming through the roadmap of growth. And as Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, my closing comment on this is, to keep it very brief, said at the press conference a few minutes ago, and he put it in Hindi. वैसे तो हिंदी में भी मैं बात कर सकता हूँ और मुझे हिंदी में खुशी होगी अगर हम इस बात को आगे बढ़ाएं, लेकिन उन्होंने कहा कि रोटी कैसे बटेगी, कांग्रेस पार्टी की ज़्यादा चिंता वहाँ है, हमारी चिंता साथ में है कि रोटी कैसे बढ़ेगी, क्योंकि रोटी अगर बढ़ेगी तो बांटने के लिए भी कुछ हमारे हाथों में होगा. So that was what we were saying in terms of the criticism that was coming. And beyond the declaration, what the difference this government will seek to do, and which only time will answer, my words won't, it's very early days, is about implementation.
Unfortunately, it came up short on both rhetoric and substance. The reason that I say that is that it was the first budget of the new government which has come into office. It would have been a legitimate expectation that India is a $2 trillion economy. How do they expect to grow it to a $4 trillion or a $8 trillion economy over the next 5 years? We are told subsequently that a lot of the revenue accruals are going to come out of disinvestment. But unfortunately, neither in the budget speech nor in the budget highlights, there was even a whisper of disinvestment. So therefore, if this government plans to disinvest by stealth and in a surreptitious manner, that is not the best way that you do governance. The captains of the industry, let's not forget the fact that media in India is owned by the corporate sector. There is no freedom of the press. There is freedom of the owner of the press. So therefore, when you have 415 news channels and current affairs channels owned by corporate India, and then those instruments of information and dissemination are leveraged towards the economic philosophy or a particular economic philosophy, the outcome is there for everyone to see. So this is going to be the nature of the discourse. And if civil society wants its voice to filter into the discourse, it is not only advocacy which is going to work, but more importantly, the alternative means which have emerged in terms of the new media, the social media, which has democratized the entire structure of the media, whereby every little man can get his voice in, notwithstanding the orchestrated lynch mobs which can get after you in the new media space.
First is that there is a very limited fiscal stimulus to growth. Second is that fiscal deficit commitment is neither desirable nor feasible at this point of time. Third is that the budget gives a very inadequate reading of the state of the economy. Fourth is that while we do recognize positive moves, the impact would be extremely limited. Most of the better effects will come outside the budget. Fifth is on tax reforms, there is only lip service. For GST, even a provision has not been made. The overall arithmetic of the budget indicates that there is complete lack of stimulus, direct stimulus. And that comes from very simply by looking at how expenditure of 14% of GDP is going to be financed. This 14% is actually a little less than the revised estimate of 13-14, and therefore expenditure as a whole does not provide any stimulus. There is a minor tinkering between the ratio of capital and revenue expenditures. It's almost negligible. It is going to be financed by 9.2% of GDP of revenue receipts, coming from 7.6 of tax GDP ratio and 1.7 of non-tax revenues. The gap is 4.8 percentage points. Both tax and non-tax revenues are actually stagnant. They represent a very marginal increase in tax revenues of 0.2 percentage points. This gap is to be filled up by 4.1% of what is called non-debt capital receipts or other capital receipts. And this is where disinvestment is hidden. The disinvestment figure, as far as I can read, is about 63,425 crores, which is a massive jump over what has been achieved in previous years. Last year it was only 25,000 crores or so. So this, there is therefore, because the expenditure is in fact stagnant, actually it comes down a little bit, and therefore there is no direct stimulus coming from the side of budgetary intervention or fiscal stimulus. Black money, there is only one initiative in the budget, which is Kisan Vikas Patra, which was a scheme earlier introduced. It was very successful because one could go and invest any amount of cash without limit into this and get a good interest rate. And that was one of the ways in which some of the black money got into the system. I think given the fact that national saving, overall saving rate, particularly household financial saving rate, has come down.
The budget speech has announced two key initiatives on health: the free drug service and free diagnosis service, moving towards health for all. Well, but there is no budget provided for the same. And so you can assume, or you can pretend, that it's got incorporated into the NHM budget, the National Health Mission. But actually NRHM needed more funds for rollout. And actually you are squeezing the health mission totally, you are expanding in Naam ke Vaste, but in actual fact you are constricting. Now look at the way in which it has responded to distress in the rural areas. Yes, I agree that there have to be, studies, etc. But if you look at all the kind of feedback that you're getting through many of these articles from actually the survey, people who have gone to the areas, who are looking at Manrega, our own experience in Edwa has been that in those places where it is rolled in a proper way and the money is reaching the women, it's totally a survival strategy. It's a survival strategy in the rural areas where people are dying of starvation. Farmers are committing suicide, and that is the context in which you have to place this. So this whole perception that is there, and now the kind of agrarian crisis that is going on, and the fact that the corporates are trying to take over land in a very big way, and the government is moving towards facilitating that. And therefore, if you look into the budget, you will find that, there is one more point that I want to make about the lack of resources. Now, your source of resources, what? Where does your money come from? And that's, unfortunately, Nalin said something and then went off. He said that, they are bothered about the poor, the left, but where will the money come from? We can certainly tell them where the money can come from if you look at where the money is. You have given huge concessions for a section which is earning in crores. You have, I'm sure Dr. Praveen Jha would be able to give figures on the number of billionaires, the increase in crore-patis, etc., etc. That's where you have to sort of go for your money, for your resources. But that you don't want to do. That you want to push into stock markets. That you want to go into speculation. So this whole speculation, and I think somewhere we also have to touch on how corruption is built into the system there. It's not this this little bit of, corruption that you have local level which becomes a very big thing in all your literature, etc. No, it's built into it's systemic corruption. And that, once again, the budget has done nothing at all to address. In fact, it doesn't even place it or doesn't even perceive it as a problem. So all these things are going to be very much anti-people, anti-poor, anti-Aam Aadmi and Aam Aurat. And unfortunately, I don't think that the ruling party and the ruling government representatives are going to be able to see it. So I think it will be our task, हम सबकी ये एक जिम्मेदारी बनेगी कि इस चीज़ को हम ले जाएं, लोगों के पास वापस ले जाएं और इनके सरकार के पास वापस लाएं।
लिंच मॉब्स की बात की है, हर चीज़ की है, कॉर्पोरेट इंडिया की बात की है। मेरी समझ में भारत के लोकतंत्र में जनता वोट देती है, कॉर्पोरेट इंडिया नहीं। यदि कोई ऑफिस लेट जा रहा है, उसके तो बुरे दिन शुरू हो गए, क्योंकि टाइम पे पहुंचना है, और जो दफ्तर पहुंचता था, अफसर के लिए वेट करता था, उसके तो अच्छे दिन शुरू हो गए। महंगाई को लेके हम लगातार आरोप सुन रहे हैं। 10 साल से जितना ज्ञान हमें कांग्रेस पार्टी से मिला है, अगर उतना ज्ञान वो अपने सरकार को देते, शायद महंगाई हट जाती, लेकिन महंगाई है। और हम लगातार कह रहे हैं सप्लाई साइड मैनेजमेंट की बात करेंगे। सप्लाई साइड मैनेजमेंट के लिए इस बजट में कदम है, जिसको पढ़ना है, जिसको इच्छा है, वो देख लेंगे। आपने कोक के बारे में बात की, आपको खुशी हुई उससे, मुझे भी बड़ी खुशी हुई, आपको खुशी हुई। मुझे तो लगता है जिन लोगों को सिगरेट की रोक लगानी है, उन परिवारों में भी शायद खुशी हुई। 11% से 72%। हर परिवार में किसी को खुशी हुई होगी, किसी को दुख हुआ होगा। कुछ लोगों की आशाएं अभी भी चलेंगी। पहले 63,000 और कहा था, तो मनीष जी का प्रश्न का जवाब मिल गया होगा उनको उसी में। आपने नंबर्स की बात की थी, 6.2%, हमने 4.1 कहा है। हमारे वित्त मंत्री ने कहा है, आई एम टेकिंग द चैलेंज, सो ओके। फूड सिक्योरिटी बिल, what is our intent on Manrega, what is our intent on right to education, automatically you will know about it again. I mean, at least I don't know the model that you would expect the BJP to want to consult the Congress or take your permission or tell you this is our intent, now this is how we'd like to govern. That tradition hasn't come yet into the country, but perhaps we could sit and talk about it, that such a tradition could be established. The objective of reaching out to the core sector that we have said at the beginning is what our intent is about. And we have to deliver, and only thing that will be acceptable to the people of India is delivery.
Budget is inspiring on various fronts. They have touched upon every segment of the society. And the most significant thing is focus on urbanization. They have provided allocations, though allocations are not sufficient at this juncture, but they have provided that they will build 100 cities, 7 industrial cities. All these things are compatible with the economic growth, because urbanization and economic growth are significantly correlated. Our urbanization is only at this juncture at 32%. It was 26% during 1991, now it is 32%, only 6 percentage point increase in the last 24 years. The budget is not operational, not practical. Because for urbanization, we need 3 things: land, labor, and environment clearances. कितने roads बने हैं, कितने bridges बने हैं, और जो लोगों का जीवन स्तर है, उसमें क्या improvement आया है? आपको इसके लिए feasibility studies या उसके लिए impact studies करने की जरूरत है, लेकिन अब यहाँ तो कोई ऐसा असेसमेंट नहीं है कि मनरेगा का असल में क्या प्रभाव पड़ा। खाली इतना ही प्रभाव देखने में आता है कि उनका जो सब्जी भजी का जो डिमांड है वो बढ़ गया है, सब्जियों के प्राइसेस बढ़ गए हैं। वो मनरेगा में लोगों के पास पैसा चला गया है, उनकी वजह से जो इन्फ्लेशन होना शुरू हो गया है। ऐसी चीज़ें जो लोग कोट करते हैं, मैं उनको ये समझता हूँ कि उसके लिए कोई अच्छा इम्पैक्ट स्टडी होना चाहिए कि एक्चुअल में हुआ क्या है, कोई ऐसा सामने तथ्य है क्या वाकई में हमारे पास। तो फाइनली मैं इसके ऊपर ये बताना चाहूँगा कि अगर हमारे पास जो सोशल स्कीम्स हैं उनके ऊपर एक उनका डेफिनेशन होना चाहिए, उनके आउटकम क्या रहेंगे वो डिफाइन होने चाहिए, और उनके लिए एक टाइम बाउंड जो एक निर्धारित होना चाहिए एक समय कि कब तक ये काम पूरा हो जाएगा।
Just with reference to probably one of the biggest schemes, NREGA, right? Now, from the previous year, the pending wages is about 5,000 crores, right? Now, if you want to maintain the level in nominal terms at the same level, then your expenditure should have been 43,000 crores, right? If you want to adjust for inflation, then it required another 4,000 crores. Okay, so effectively, in real terms, there is a very significant cut, Amitabh.
Yeah. Okay.
And likewise, we can talk of several other schemes. Under that particular scheme, there is an outstanding unpaid wage bill of about rupees 5,000 crores from last fiscal, right? Now, the previous finance minister did not want to make this payment precisely because of this whole scare of the finance capital and putting up and higher sort of post facto allocation that is raising it from 33,000 to 38,000, because this would send a terrible signal to everybody across the world and money will run away and so on and so forth, right? So actually, and the work has already been done. This is outstanding wage bill, so money has to be paid, right? So actually it ended up with 38,000 crores, right? So if you wanted to maintain the same level, which means then 5,000 crores from last year and 5,000 crores addition this year, unless you do that, it would not be at the same level. Now this is in nominal terms. We are not talking of inflation. So if you add inflation, you are talking of maybe another 4,000 crores. Now if you do that, then basically under one particular scheme, we are sort of, staring at a shortfall in real terms of about 13 to 14,000 crores. On inflation, particularly the question that Amitabh asked, there is nothing at all except this so-called price stabilization fund. You have 500 crores under that, is something which goes back to, of course, the earlier regime, which is taking petroleum products outside the administered control regime. Right? That is the single most important factor. Now, that was the policy decision which was taken. Got into very serious distress over a prolonged period. The way we manage our, for instance, stocks. At one point in 2012, early 13, our stocks were close to 82 million tons. Now this government has released, of course, about 5 million tons, has given that sanction. And in any case, it is not the cereals which are the major drivers of food inflation. That these other factors, what are we going to be, sort of do about that? So if you look at all these policies which have been in place, it is not going to make any dent on inflation.
Shame on us as well. Shame on us as civil society, because we don't get our act together. How many, I called n number of people before arriving here. I said, hey guys, what's your ask from this budget? And it was all like, sorry, we haven't really given it a thought. Meanwhile, you've got people lobbying actively, as they should. It's a democracy. We need to be there in the finance ministry. We need to say, this is our case. This is what you need to do. If you don't have time, you've got 45 days. Don't do a quick job. Here are some great ideas for women's rights that can be a game changer. It may not even cost you that much. But we haven't done that homework. We haven't gone to them. And so I would appeal, Amitabh, to the entire, even, the Vada Na Todo campaign was going to the Planning Commission and doing its advocacy around there. And now we don't know what the fate of the Planning Commission is anymore, or what the fate of the 5-year plans is anymore. And we need to start shifting constructively our advocacy method, our advocacy mandate, and start going directly. If it's going to be, the finance ministry that's going to be entirely deciding this budget, then we need to go to them with our demands. A budget speech and the fine print, these are two separate things. But we watch a budget speech because it gives you an indication of what's important to this government. On minority rights, it was so tragic because we were really, you were looking, this government has come into its present mandate with a certain political baggage. And when you're told by the government, sabka saath, sabka vikas, you say, all right, let's see, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Let's see what this budget holds out. मैं तरस गई वो एक वाक्य सुनने के लिए that this will be, the planned process will be reformed, these will be non-lapsable, non-divertible. I will ensure that this money reaches the Dalits in the way in which it needs to reach them. I'm seeing signals of process that have been completely missing in this. So, good governance, your guess is as good as mine. Amitabh and the rest of us, I'm no wiser from reading the budget speech or the budget documents on aspects of good governance.